This HOA president kicked down my cabin door during a beer with the state attorney general. She committed 6 felonies right in front of the person who could imprison her instantly. Wood splintered everywhere as her designer heels clicked on broken glass across my floor. This woman in her $1,000 blazer reeked of aggressive perfume costing more than my truck. She stormed into my grandfather's cabin screaming about violations and jurisdiction like she owned it. She had zero clue who she had just barged in on during that critical moment. She also had zero clue she was live streaming her own arrest warrant to thousands. 6 months earlier, I thought Karen was just a typical power-drunk neighbor causing trouble. Turns out she was running a $4 million embezzlement scheme targeting our entire community. I was about to accidentally burn her entire criminal empire down to the ground. What would you do if some HOA psychopath invaded your private property like this? Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from right this moment. I guarantee half of you have dealt with these neighborhood dictators at some point. Let me back up and tell you how this whole nightmare actually started unfolding. 6 months ago, life was pretty damn good for me after years of hard work. My name is Marcus Henley, and I am 52 years old right now. After 30 years crawling through muddy trenches installing power grids across 3 counties here, I had finally earned my well-deserved retirement with pride and some savings left. The crown jewel was my grandfather's fishing cabin on beautiful Clearwater Lake. 2 acres of pure heaven that old pop bought back in 1963. Can you believe he paid just $800 for prime lakefront property then? This wasn't some fancy McMansion, but hand-hewn logs built with love and care. A stone fireplace that Pop built himself with his own calloused strong hands, and a screened porch that creaked in all the right comforting places always. I kept it completely off-grid by choice, with solar panels humming quietly overhead, well water that tasted exactly like sweet childhood memories from long ago, and a septic system that worked better than most modern city setups today. The morning mist rising off the lake reminded me why Pop chose this spot. He used to say, "The land picks you, not the other way around." Smart man who also warned me when someone wants your land real bad. Find out why, because it's usually worth far more than they're telling you. Then she showed up like a storm, disrupting our peaceful lake community completely. Delilah Cromwell, though everyone called her that HOA psycho, arrived with big plans. 58 years old, fresh from some California subdivision where she ruled neighborhoods, she drove a pearl-white Escalade with vanity plates that read Rule 1, and wore her HOA president badge on her blazer like a sheriff's star. The woman had one mission in life: to transform our rustic lakefront area. She wanted an upscale resort community, no matter what anyone else thought. But here's what I didn't know then about her true dark intentions. 3 elderly couples had already sold their cabins to mysterious buyers quickly. Funny coincidence, right after her arrival within just 2 short months here. Her first act of war came on a quiet Tuesday morning without warning. I'm sitting on Pop's porch drinking coffee watching loons teach babies to dive, when I hear sharp clicking sounds of designer heels on my wooden dock. At 7 a.m. on my private property, without any invitation at all. 10 minutes later, she's taping an official-looking notice to my screen door. Violation citation for unsightly dock structure damaging community property values significantly. Fine of $500 with compliance required within 72 hours exactly, or daily penalties will accrue until full compliance is achieved without delay. I had to read it twice to believe what was happening here. My weathered dock that Pop and I reinforced together when I was 12 was apparently an eyesore threatening the entire neighborhood's real estate market values. Being a reasonable guy, I walked over to explain my property situation calmly. My property actually predates the HOA by about 40 years, without question. You know what she said, standing there in my own driveway confidently? "Everyone on this lake answers to me. Sweetie, ask the Hendersons about fighting." The Hendersons, my elderly neighbors who'd mysteriously decided to downsize last month. Suddenly, the pieces weren't clicking yet, but something cold settled in my stomach deeply. That's when she started her photography session, circling my cabin like an appraiser, snapping pictures of my solar panels, vegetable garden, and hand-carved porch railings. The smell of her chemical air freshener, wafting from idling Escalade, made me gag. By the end of the week, I had 3 more citations delivered quickly. Each one came with escalating fines, making it clear she declared war. Each one showed Delilah Cromwell had targeted everything my family had built here. I figured I was dealing with typical power-tripping neighbor, annoying but manageable. What I didn't know was I just painted a target on my back, in a game much bigger and more dangerous than petty HOA politics alone. Pop's words echoed in my head, "Find out why they want your land." I was about to find out why, and it would change everything forever. Karen didn't waste time escalating to the big guns in her campaign. 3 days after my compliance deadline passed because I refused to tear down, a certified letter arrived that made my morning coffee taste like bitter ash. Cease and desist violation of community waterway regulations with serious legal threats. The letterhead read Blackstone Meyer and Associates, a fancy law firm indeed. The legal gibberish said my dock was illegally extending into community waterway area. I owed $3,000 in retroactive violation fees, plus interest if unpaid. They were threatening to slap a lien on my property within 10 days. My first instinct was panic because these people had expensive lawyers now. I had a toolbox and a bad attitude, but little legal experience. But then I remembered something Pop always drummed into me during fishing. "Marcus, when someone's trying to legal talk you out of your land, the real truth is always in the county records. Never trust letters. Go find the actual papers yourself before believing any fancy threats." So I drove down to the county courthouse musty basement full of records. The clerk's sweet lady named Betty remembered Pop from fishing tournament days, helped me pull the original property survey stamped and official from 1963. I'd learned this trick from my union days. Check source documents always. What I found made my blood boil with anger at their deception. My grandfather's lot didn't just go to the water's edge, but beyond. It included 50 feet into the lake, clearly marked on the deed. That dock wasn't trespassing on community property, it was on my lake. But here's the real kicker: the HOA wasn't established until 1998, 35 years after Pop bought his land with clear legal rights. I remembered older properties often have rights newer developments can't touch easily. Something about grandfathered exemptions that trump any neighborhood association rules completely. Armed with copies of everything, I marched back, feeling pretty damn proud. That satisfaction lasted exactly until I tried to leave for groceries later, and found Karen's Escalade parked sideways across my driveway, blocking me completely. Not beside it, not near it directly, blocking like a traffic stop. When I knocked on her window, she rolled it down just enough. "Oh Marcus, I'm just reviewing community parking regulations, this might take a while." The mechanical hum of her idling engine mixed with sickly sweet air freshener created this surreal bubble of passive-aggressive insanity in my own driveway. Here I was, a grown man who'd built county's electrical infrastructure completely, being held hostage by a suburban soccer mom with serious power complex. But Karen was just getting warmed up with her escalating tactics now. Within a week, she'd organized Lakeside Beautification Committee, sounding nice at first, which was basically a hit squad targeting anyone not fitting her vision. Suddenly neighbors who'd waved at me for years avoided eye contact completely. Her Facebook posts were masterpieces of passive-aggressive warfare against my property, concerned about eyesore properties affecting all our home values significantly. Some people just don't care about the community Lakeside's strong property values. The comments section turned into a feeding frenzy of angry neighbors quickly. People I'd known for decades, suddenly experts on property law overnight, parroting Karen's talking points like she was some real estate prophet here. 3 of my neighbors actually apologized to me privately during walks. Tom and Susan Martinez pulled me aside, confessing Karen's strong suggestions. They complain about my property or face their own citation blitz soon. Apparently, she'd already targeted old Mr. Peterson for non-regulation window boxes, and threatened young couple with baby over unsightly playground equipment placement. "She's got something on everyone," Tom whispered, glancing around nervously. "Her husband works up at state capitol, connected political stuff, you know." That hit me like a cold slap. This wasn't neighborhood drama anymore. This woman had reached beyond our little lake community with connections. That night, I found orange spray paint covering my mailbox aggressively. Bright strokes, spelling out comply or leave in threatening bold letters. My security camera caught everything, including Karen's license plate at night. When I called Sheriff's Office, guess who showed up next morning? Deputy Chad Cromwell, Karen's nephew, who shrugged off the vandalism report. Probably just kids, you know how they are with pranks sometimes. The rough texture of spray paint under fingers felt like sandpaper sole. Pop used to say, sometimes you need bigger guns for bigger fight. Time to find some bigger guns to protect my family legacy. Karen's next move came disguised as civic duty, making it more infuriating. She'd figured out direct confrontation wasn't working, so weaponized county bureaucracy. It started with polite knock from Building Inspector Dale Morrison, known well. The awkward look on his face told me everything before he spoke. Marcus, I'm real sorry, but I got a complaint about unpermitted structures here. You know I have to follow up on these things professionally. 3 hours later, Dale crawled through every inch with clipboard measuring tape. His conclusion, everything not only up to code, but exceeded safety standards. Pop built things to last, even if he was old school always. Whoever filed this complaint, Dale muttered, doesn't know, or wasting time deliberately. The next day brought environmental officer investigating septic system contamination reports. Again perfectly functioning, better than most new installations, she admitted openly. Then fire marshal examined solar panels for hazardous electrical violations carefully. Clean bill of health, there too no issues found at all. Each inspection cost me a day of peace and retirement sanity. But more importantly, each false report created official paper trail against me. I remembered union rep warning bureaucratic harassment, classic tactic, looking legitimate. While I dealt with inspection parade, Karen played her media game skillfully. She got interviewed by Channel 7 Community Spotlight, positioning herself concerned citizen, the news story masterpiece of selective editing, showing my cabin as shack, talked about dangerous conditions threatening children's safety in our community, painted herself brave advocate standing up against irresponsible property owners here. What got blood boiling watching her stand on my dock delivering performance. The crisp sound of phone buzzing with angry texts from neighbors seeing story. Half the lake community now thought I was environmental menace suddenly. But here's where Karen made her first real mistake, getting greedy fast. My old buddy Jake Martinez called after seeing the news story, outraged. Marcus, that lady's full of it, and everyone knows it deep down. You built half the clean energy infrastructure in this entire county. Your solar setup example, I used training apprentices all the time. Within 2 days, Jake organized a parade of former co-workers to inspect. Having 20 master electricians vouch publicly shut down hazardous narrative quick. That's when things started getting interesting with new developments unfolding. My lawyer buddy Chuck Davis stopped by for beer mentioning something important. You know Marcus Attorney General's office investigating HOA corruption cases statewide. Several communities reporting similar harassment patterns to what you're describing here. What kind of patterns, I asked, knowing the answer already inside. Karen brought social media crew thought moment of triumph. Here we go, Agent Torres, whispered earpiece hidden position. Attorney General calm continued. Notes, financial evidence, Karen voice louder, working righteous fury, live stream audience, watching real time. This it folks, expose corruption, targeting family attorney general, illegally meeting harasser, planning more government persecution against us, designer heels clicking porch countdown timer, her own disaster, crash door exploded inward, wood splintered coffee mug, floor crash, Karen stormed living room phone, high live streaming everything, oblivious committed trespass, breaking, entering, assault state chief prosecutor. Demand know why attorney general secretly meeting this man screaming. This government harassment, political persecution, I have rights here. Look face attorney general stood displayed, official identification priceless. Karen's stream captured moment, brain processed frozen terror completely. Mrs. Cromwell, I am Patricia Williamson, attorney general state calmly. You committed multiple felonies, presence recorded off as your broadcast. Karen phone, still streaming followers watching hero turning mess. Comment section exploded, confusion, disbelief supporting criminal self-destructed camera. I was this my community jurisdiction here, stammering HOA badge. FBI agent Torres stepped doorway, flanked federal agents arrest. Mrs. Cromwell under arrest, fraud, extortion, intimidation, criminal harassment. Thanks, livestream confession, broadcast 3,000 witnesses now. Sound handcuffs clicking echoed cabin closing book, her career. Phone clattered floor streaming, arrest horrified voyeurs, watching meltdown. Karen I said standing satisfied smile, meet state's attorney general. Discussing bookkeeping methods with great interest right this moment. Neighbors commotion porch, stunned silence, terrorizer read. Miranda writes. Mrs. Patterson tears face drove down moment, justice served. Sheriff arrived, perp walk Karen handcuffs past dock solar cabin. Pearl Escalade, towed evidence fraud case, vanity plates, gone. Live stream ended voice echoing lake, this isn't over. Husband fix this, you don't know who dealing with. Actually Karen knew exactly criminals go prison. Watching Karen sentenced 3 months later felt like Christmas morning. Federal judge through entire law library not just book. 3 years federal prison, 340,000 restitution. Lifetime ban, serving any HOA board, United States forever. Husband Robert, resigned, disgrace, 18 months, conspiracy abuse office. HOA dissolved, formed Clearwater Lake Volunteer Association, no mandatory, no fees, citation, authority, power, drunk presidents, just neighbors together. My role exposing, earned whistleblower compensation, recovered fraud funds. Check 45,000 vindication, every sleepless night caused me. Real victory, justice, ripple outward, new, state legislation foundation. Henley Act requires annual independent financial audits, criminal penalties. 3 counties prosecuted similar rings using our solid evidence. FBI report identified 24 related cases, 5 states. Families driven, homes coming back. Henderson's new cabin nearby. Mrs. Patterson moved back through block party, lasted sunrise joy. Property values soared, remove harassment, fraudulent citations, peaceful community. My off-grid cabin hosts tours, solar power, environmental stewardship. State agency featured renewable energy showcase program proudly. Established Pop's legacy scholarship, 500 grants, trade school kids. Pop believed working hands foundation, honest life, helping generation. Annual festival, regional attraction, raising veterans, housing assistance, money. Last year funded 3 tiny home projects, homeless vets. Sweet barbecue smell, families laughing, replaced toxic atmosphere created. Best part, quiet moments, sitting Pop's porch, sunset, gold, purple. Loons, calling hills, Pop taught fish 60 years ago. Solar panels, hum, powering life, finally my own again. No certified letters, inspections, designer heels, Doc Don. Gentle waves weathered with knowledge, stubborn righteous David beats Goliath. Documentary crew, Netflix filmed HOA Hell, one-man criminal empire. Premieres next spring, paid ad guest, cabin harassment victims stay. Because Karen not unique, power-drunk dictators terrorizing elderly, stealing. Now roadmap, fighting backstories need told, shared widely. Want hear from you, comment your own HOA nightmare story. You're not alone, fight, these stories must be heard. Hit subscribe, more stories, everyday people down corrupt systems. Next week, city councilman shut veteran food truck Pentagon visit, thanks hanging HOA Stories, where HOA Karens meet their match. If story cheering, cringing like video, comment reaction, subscribe.